get out the bed. So what's your inner dialogue that you're telling yourself in the situation?
Well, there's a lot of secrets. It takes God, it takes grace, it takes forgiveness.
Every day.
A great marriage is really the union of two great forgivers.
Wow.
How are you stopping each other?
Well, and we learned what I started to say a few minutes ago in the therapy that we've been to is about the tunnel of chaos. And to get to intimacy, you have to go through the tunnel of chaos. And so many people aren't willing to. They let their differences tear them apart. And instead of saying, we have gone through the tunnel of chaos. And on the other side of that has come an intimacy that makes it worth it to stay together. To stay together is the blood. I don't mean literal blood. I don't mean that. I just mean the effort that it's taken. Since we are so different.
When people say, I don't have the money to afford counseling, I say, well, how much is your happiness worth? I'd pay $1 million for what I've got today.
Right.
This is my best friend.
Well, speaking of Kay being your best friend, because she had to be your best friend because you went through every parent's worst nightmare. You were talking about it. Your son Matthew, he committed suicide at the very early age of 27 years old, which he suffered for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, he just, from the time he was a toddler, we knew he was different. He was our youngest, and so I'd already raised, 2 kids. I knew he wasn't like the other 2. I knew there were things, but it just took us a long time to figure out.
He suffered from depression.
Yeah, by this time he was 7, he was clinically depressed. And then they started having all the other initials, ADHD.
Right.
But the thing that we didn't understand about him was that he had borderline personality disorder, and that would have made such a difference to have known that that was a part of what he was struggling with.
When something this awful happens, parents sometimes, no matter what, blame themselves. Did you go through this?
Well, I think anytime there's grief, there's
Second guessing, definitely.
Yeah, second guessing, and especially I think when there's a suicide, there's recriminations. There's the idea of should we have done this? What if we had done this? Maybe we should have tried that doctor. What if I had said this or that? And
How do you get over it? How do you forgive yourself?
Well, if love could keep Matthew alive, he'd be alive today. Because he was the most loved. He had a strong, stable family. All of the things that you would think would help a kid make it in life, he had it all. And he knew he was deeply loved. The problem is, if your mind doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you see, this is one of the things we're trying to do is remove the stigma. You see, if my heart stops working and I take a pill, nobody thinks anything of it. If my liver stops working and I take a pill, nobody thinks anything of it. But if my brain doesn't work right and I take a pill, I'm supposed to be ashamed of that? What's wrong with that?
Right.
Your illness is not your identity, and your character is not your chemistry.
And well said. I didn't know the statistics. 1 in 4 adults suffer from some form of mental illness, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you are now going to make this your crusade.
Yeah.
How do you plan on doing that?
well, we feel since the place that we have the most influence is in the world of the faith community. That's where we would start. And so for us to make sure that the message gets out that anyone who's struggling with mental illness is welcomed and embraced in communities of faith. So you want to keep going? Okay. Also that family members receive the support because we didn't get all the support we needed, and then to be advocates for the very broken mental health system that exists in the United States.
Now, quick question for you. What do you say to a lot of Christian people feel that depression is because you don't have enough faith, that if you take medication it's because you don't have enough
Pray
faith.
harder.
That if you don't you need to pray harder. What do you say to them when you say maybe your brain doesn't
it's
work?
like if a bird has a broken wing, you can say, just believe you can fly. It isn't going to fly. Okay, it's not going to fly. And if your neurons aren't working right, then you go get help. And actually, mental illness, physical illness, spiritual illness, and relational illness often all go together. And you got to hit all four. You got to work on your spirit, you got to work on your mind, you got to work on your health, and you got to work on your relationships.
Pastor, thank you so much. We want to thank Pastor Rick Warren and his wife Kay. We'll be right back with Sarah.